We have 2 horses down. We've got 2 more to go. Let's get started. Welcome back to the shop. For those of you that are new to the channel, well, welcome aboard. Glad you're here, and I'm glad you've tuned in. My name is Brett, and this is where I come to create these Victorian carousel rocking horses, either on glider stands or on bow rockers. Now, for the last couple of months, we've been working on really 4 horses. 3 of these were orders. The other one came through right before Christmas. It was a large paint on a cherry glider stand. We've got those 2 paints finished up, and the large horse is crated. The other one on medium bow rockers here. I'm going to take you over and I'm going to show you how that finished up. I'll tell you, it is stunning. It's one of the prettiest horses I think that I've done to date. This is the one where we were playing with some of the different colors, and I was incorporating some of my buckskin color and giving it some light tones and some reddish tones. Well, we'll take you over there and I'm going to show you that. We'll go do a little quick walk around, and I'll show you how nice that turned out. But for now, I've got our medium horse on a glider stand. This one we're calling Lorissa. These ones we also have rough carved. We were doing this all at the same time, so we have 2 more horses that we need to finish up here, and that's going to pretty much finish up the orders that we have. Hopefully we'll have some new ones coming through, but we have these 2 now that we need to work on. I was just kind of setting this one up here in my jaw horse, and looking down from the top of it, it's still a bit square, so we've got some more carving we can do on this to kind of give it some nice rounded contours. The other thing I'd like to focus on this horse in particular is the necks always seem to be a bit thick, and so can we come in and carve and shape these necks maybe a little bit thinner, especially here in the back. So that's something we may play with here a little bit more. But let's go ahead and let me take you over. Let's walk around the other medium paint that I just finished up. I'm real happy about that. Do a quick walk around, then we'll come back over here. Let's get set up, and then let's get this horse finished up. So here's our medium paint horse on cherry bow rockers. Again, this is the one that I was playing with some of the different colors, added that buckskin color in there, and then we were playing with some of the tones. And I'm just really thrilled with how this turned out. I think it's one of the prettiest horses that I've done to date. Go on the other side here and look. Just love the way, you know, these light tones just come through that dark paint. And I'm already thinking of my next one and what I want to do on the next paint horse that we work on. I'll probably start another one here in the next couple of months. We'll get it ready for the Shaker Woods Festival in August. Yeah, there it is. Client will be here in about a week or so, maybe the end of next week, and real anxious for him to see it in person. Send him some pictures, and he just loves it, but it's always fun when they come and they, you know, I get to see their reaction in person. So that's the paint horse all finished up, and I think it looks fantastic. Now this horse here, this is the one we're calling Lorissa. This is a medium on a glider stand. This is going to be a dapple gray. So once we get it to that point and we're in the paint booth and we're ready to paint it, I'm going to show you again how to paint a dapple gray, and we'll go through some of the process. If you're interested in how to do that, at the end of this episode, I'll put a link on, you know, how I paint the dapple grays, just to give you a little bit of a refresher. Now the stand, the glider stand we already built, and I'll put a link up here on how to build the glider stands if you're interested in how I did that. Now that glider stand, you haven't seen me do this, but we're going to paint that one, and it's going to be painted like a dark green. So that we'll need to get it in the paint booth as well, get it prepped, get it primed, and then we'll go through and paint all of that, and I'll show you all of that when we get to that point. But again, let's go ahead, let's get this one to the point that we can get it into the paint booth. That means we have some more carving to do on it, so we'll get set up, we'll start carving, and then we'll start sanding. So let's start here at the back end of the horse. Now, I'm bringing you in here a little bit close with the camera so that you can see what I'm talking about. It's a bit square. We're a bit square here, coming around where this part of the horse, it's starting to have a nice shape to it. So we're going to use our medium grit donut on our 4-inch grinder. That's the cut saw. And we're just going to slowly start taking some of this material down and just shape it a little bit. Then we'll work our way to the neck. But again, I think you can kind of see it's got a bit of a squareness to it. So a little bit of work with the 4-inch grinder, we can take this down real quick and really start making a lot of this horse take shape. I wish I could get some overhead shots, but this shop, these walls are 12 foot high, and to the peak, to the ceiling up there is 18 feet. So right now it's kind of difficult for me to get any sort of an overhead shot. So I'm going to try to set you up on the tripod as best I can so that you can kind of watch me, you know, take this material down and shape this. But it doesn't need much, and this isn't going to take real long. And then we can just go ahead and we can start sanding. Now you can kind of see here what I was working on, at least I hope you can. This still has a lot more material here taken off than on this side, so I need to work on that. I may go back to my extra coarse donut on my other grinder and work this down a little bit more. It'll take it down a little bit quicker, but this is coming along real nice, and it's starting to take a little bit of a nice shape to it. You know what? It's supposed to be 54 degrees and it's pretty nice outside right now. I think I'm going to go ahead and move everything outside. I'd much rather do this outside. You've heard me say it before, but I'd rather carve outside and work on this outdoors. I'm kind of tired of being cooped up anyways, and it feels pretty good out there. So I'm going to grab my sweatshirt and get, kind of reset up, and then let's finish sanding and fine tuning this and get this pretty well knocked out here this afternoon. Perfect. It's a new day here in the shop, and I've been working on this morning, just sanding. Didn't want to bore you all with it, so I was just working on that here for a few hours and trying to get everything pretty well sanded, and I've got it to a point where there's not much more to go. So I'm right here now. I want to start working on some different neck features, and I mentioned this at the beginning of this episode that I want to kind of play around here with a little bit more lines, bring out a little bit more muscle. So the other night I was on the internet, and I have a couple of different ideas here, and this is from another artist, another rocking horse artist and carver, and I'll tell you, I just love his work. I'm not sure who the artist is that carved this, but I'll tell you, it's beautiful, and it looks like it's carved out of walnut. And this is something that, again, I always strive in my own work to continue to perfect this design and try to add a lot of my own technique and personality into each of these horses. So one of the areas, though, that I want to continue to focus on is this neck area. So I really like the way his neck, and I'll put some pictures up here so that you can see what I'm talking about, but I really like some of the features here. Now, we're not going to get it exact, and I'm not looking to completely replicate this, but I think we can incorporate a couple of little details here into this horse and add a few more lines, and try to make this neck area just kind of come alive a little bit more and just add some more interest here. Now, I've got some lines drawn on here, and I'm going to go ahead and carve these in, and we're going to sand them, but I've got to keep in mind, and this is something too when you're doing your own carving, to start thinking ahead about like the saddle and the martingale and the bridle and all of that. So I do have the martingale strap that's got to come around. So I can go a little bit deep here, and I can carve this a little bit deep, and then as I come down into the body of the horse, I'm going to sort of feather that down, because that leather strap that's going to come down around here, the martingale, I've got to nail that on. So if I go too crazy with my carving, I don't think it's going to look quite right. So I think if I start deep up here and then kind of come down, relax it, and then feather it all out, I think when I go to finish this out and put the martingale and all the leather on, that it'll look a lot better. So let's give this a shot here. I don't know how this is going to turn out, so we're just going to go in here and just start carving and sanding and see what we can do here, and just kind of play with it and see if we can't do something a little bit different on this horse. Okay, here we go. I'm going to use a combination. I'm going to start off with my Cuts-All 4-inch donut here on my grinder. I'm going to cut this all in. We're going to bring it down and feather this out. Then we're going to come back up. We're going to add another line. We're just going to continue to add some of these lines. And then we're going to go into our little flap wheel here, and we'll just see if we can accentuate that, bring that out, round it all over. I don't know, let's just see what we can do and try to really make this stand out, this neck area stand out a little bit more. Here we go. I'm going to switch things up here, and I'm going to go to my Sandiflex. And I'm just going to go over, this is 120 grit. I'm just going to go over here and just see if I can blend all of this in and just kind of, you know, feather it all out and just kind of make it look, again, I've used the word melt, you know, just kind of melt in. I really like the lines here. I like what's going on here. I think we just need to kind of sand them down flat and, you know, just kind of let those melt right into this neck. I don't know. I really like what's going on here. Looks really good. I'm happy with it. I don't think you can see it real well on the camera. but I really like, it just feels good, and it just really gives some nice interest. And I guess that's one of the things I'd like to try to impress upon you when you're doing one of these horses, when you're making something, even if you're carving something other than a horse, experiment, play with it. Don't be afraid to try something new and get in there and just see what happens. Again, it's wood, you can fix it. And sometimes those, call them, you know, like Bob Ross, the happy accidents. Something may happen that'll lend and lean in or kind of go into something else or morph into something else, which will make it even more interesting. You know, so yeah, get out there, try it. Don't be afraid to experiment and try something new. I think that looks really good. That looks really cool. We're not going to really see how this is going to look 100% until we get it in the paint booth and we start getting paint on it, and then you're really going to start seeing some of this come to life, especially being that this is a Dapple gray. We're going to see some really cool, you know, some really cool shadow lines come out of this. But I like the way when I was bringing these muscle lines in, that then I went right up into the jaw, and that kind of lent itself to let me play with the jaw a little bit more, round it over a little bit more. Just looks, I don't know, it just looks good. It feels good. I really like the feel of it too overall. Now maybe we'll put a couple more shadow lines on the other side of this neck, just a couple. I don't think we'll go to this detail because the mane's going to cover all of that, but maybe we'll do a few more over there. Maybe we'll bring this down so we have that line coming down and make this a little bit more narrow. I like it. A little bit more sanding to do on this, and then I want to go ahead and cut our saddle block in. We'll get the eyes set yet today. That's kind of what's on the agenda, what's, you know, what I'm working on here in my head. And if we can get the saddle block, get the eyes set today, and finish getting this sanded, then we're ready to, really ready to start primering. Good. Well, I'm just finishing up this last eye. That looks pretty good right there. Everything looks even, and that finishes up. I've got the eyes set, and I was also able to get our saddle block set as well. Now, if you're just tuning in, if you're new to the channel and you're thinking, well, I skipped a step, or you didn't get to see how I set the eyes and do all of this, I'd recommend go back and watch some of my previous videos. I think I've posted around, I think close to 50 videos now, maybe 45 videos. So I think I've covered just about every topic on building one of these that there is. So I would recommend go back and look at some of my other videos, and you'll see that I show you how to set the eyes, how to set the saddle block, how to do everything. So if you're interested, again, go back and take a look at what I've done. But really, I think that's going to finish us up for this episode. The only thing we've got to do next week when we get in here, of course, give it a final sand. We have to notch for our stirrup staples, and we'll do that in the paint booth. But pretty much this isn't going to take much longer. We'll get in here to the shop and we'll be in the paint booth next week. Also, I think next week, I've never shown you how to notch the hooves for a horse that's going to sit on a glider stand. So I'm going to show you that too before we get it into the paint booth. That's where we'll start next week. I've got a really slick, easy way to do it, and it's only going to take a few minutes to notch these hooves, and they're going to be perfect. I'm going to show you that next week. And once again, if you got something out of this video or some of my past videos, you know, think about subscribing. If you haven't subscribed, think about subscribing. Also, you know, give this video and some of my previous videos a thumbs up. That really helps me out in the grand scheme of things in building this channel. You've heard other people say it. It really does help the algorithm when you give a video a thumbs up. So I'd appreciate that. I'd love to hear from you out there. Drop me a comment down below, or again, shoot me an email. I've been hearing from some of you out there, and I've been seeing some of the projects, and I'll tell you, when I see some of the work that you all are doing out there, it really kind of inspires me and gives me a little kick in the butt to get out here in the shop and, you know, keep going with what I'm doing. So I really appreciate and I love hearing from you out there. Well, once again, thanks a lot for hanging out with me, and as always, happy carving, and we'll see you here at the shop next week. Take care.